Hello everyone, this is Magnus, CEO and founder of Scientia, a startup dedicated to developing AIs for businesses. We like to say that we make math magic for businesses, and in the case series that we're recording, we'll show you guys where the magic comes from. In this video, we'll be talking about Telos. Like our other solutions, Telos actually is not a single algorithm, but an AI with multiple functionalities or multiple algorithms. And in this case, Telos actually encompasses chatbots mostly for customer service. Well, first things first, there are a lot of chatbots available out there, and for people looking for regular chatbot solutions for frequently asked questions, for instance, they should probably look at other companies. Our chatbots are mostly meant for doing more than just that, and usually are connected to a bunch of different functionalities, and this is pretty much what we do. That being said, I'm going to talk about our solution in the case of automating orders over the phone. All our case presentations should follow the same order. First, we'll talk about the scenario before we started the project, what the customer was facing. Then we're going to talk a little bit about how we built the solution. And then we're going to talk about what happened after. What were the consequences, the results. So at the start of the project, we started by trying to understand what was going on with the client. They just had developed an ordering service online, and it was not popular. People were still using the phone because it was what people was accustomed to, and even though they tried to actually make the move from phones to online ordering, their customers weren't uh, actually changing their behavior. They still wanted to call, and they had difficulties managing people, which is always something kind of hard. There were some complaints about the service, and they also didn't like the fact that there were limited hours that their ordering service was actually available. So we, at this point, we gave the idea of maybe trying to build a chatbot online that could do this ordering over the phone, especially because their process was pretty repetitive, and repetitive stuff is usually very easy to automate. There are so many solutions out there. There are so many tools available for development that it's easy to automate something that is repetitive. And once we actually started looking at some sample calls, we also realized that the calls were pretty long. There were long waits, waiting for answers either from the customer or either from the employee. The process, although it was repetitive, it was poorly documented, and the order that people would get it, the different information was different. Some callers had different behaviors, and they wanted to have something more streamlined, right? And also, there was simply no data analysis on the customer service at all. They pretty much didn't know what was going on the calls. They could follow the sales, and they could get complaints, but they weren't following closely what was going on with the service. So how did we decide to build this chatbot, this Telos? The customer calls the sent the AI, I guess, over VoIP, and Telos takes this sound and sends it to Google Voice to Speech API, and transforms this sound to text. We chose Google Voice to Speech because, well, it was we the robot was working on the Portuguese language, and we felt like Google had the best voice to speech for Portuguese, but there are a lot of great services available, especially for English. But we had to do this research to see um, which one would behave better, and this is the transcription is a very important part of the AI to actually make it understand what's going on, right? So Telos sends the sound, gets the transcript for the sound, see what the person actually wrote, what actually said in writing, and then he takes this text and sends it to Watson Assistant, which is IBM's chatbot. Again, why we use Watson because we believe it's the best API out there for chatbots. It works very well. It understands very well. So even if the transcript is not perfect, Watson probably can understand what the person wants. So it was a good combination. And so Telos sends the text back to Watson, and Watson says what the response should be. And from this, we check the order service that they have to for the information that they need, and then we send it back to the customer. So let's give an example. Let's say the customer calls asking for an order. The company sells lenses, right? He wants to order lenses for their store, for their glasses store. So the person has to send their customer ID. Telos sends this sound to Google Voice to Speech and gets the number that the person said. Then Watson checks if this number, this text actually follows the behavior of the ID, if it has 8 digits, 9 digits, or whatever, if it has the correct format, and then he tells us what he needs to ask next. What is the next question that he needs to ask the customer? And then Telos takes this ID and gets this response to see if this is a valid ID, and then checks with the order service who is this customer, what are the products that he can order, how much credit they have available, and then Telos can answer the customer what is the next question, or for instance tell them how much credit they have available if they have any outstanding orders, and what else they want, and he just moves on with the call, right, and sends it this message back in voice over the call to the customer, and then gets the next answer. Usually the next question would be what is the product ID that they want to buy, and then they move on to a bunch of different features that the product that they want to order needs to have: the degrees, color, stuff like that. So what happens after we had the chatbot working? Now they had transcripts of every single conversation. They knew what was being said back and forth. They have live data collection. They could know what was going on in real time. They had a service that was available 24/7. In this case, the person that called had two options. Either they could go straight to the chatbot and get some service, or they could wait in line to talk to a person. So this was a way to actually balance the chatbot use with human callers as well. So if at any point, if the caller actually prefers to talk to a human being, he would go back to the call line and he would be transferred to the human being, and the conversation up to that point would also be updated to whatever the human was receiving this call, right? The other thing that was pretty interesting was that they actually had a cost per use structure. This means that well, as opposed to actually hiring people, you have to pay them either if there are a lot of demand or not, right? And it's not scalable. It's kind of hard. People may leave, and you probably have a set cost every month, independent of how much demand you had. And in this case, you only pay for actually what you use, which is something pretty important. There were actually excess employees over there. There was a lot of downtime, and they really benefited from from use from this cost per use. And the final result was a 50% cost reduction per call on average. So the calls that actually were being taken by the chatbot would usually had a call cost of just half of those costs that were actually taken by humans. So yes, this was also a major result, a major difference. And I guess that's it. If you guys have any more questions, let me know. We would love to answer any more questions. And I hope you enjoyed this video.